folks, this video today is going to talk about how to download to a Redline device over Crimson 3.2 using the Ethernet method. I believe I have another video that already shows how to use the USB, which actually shows it as a COM port. In this case, I'm going to try to use the Ethernet method to download to Crimson 3.2 to one of my existing graphite screens. So before I really go down that road, I just want to show you first that I'm currently able to download to the screen in Crimson 3.1. And what I mean by that is, over at Communications here, on the Network tab, in the word download, because I have a number of different devices here at my office, I'm doing a lot of port forwarding rules. And so for each one of my Redline devices, I use a different port to download to it, and I use a different port to serve up the web page. So if you look here, I'm focused on HMI number 92 in my classes. And this one over here on the download tab is using port 792 to download to it, where it's going to listen for it, and of course I'm using that same port to download to the unit. And you can see here I've got a remote address. So here on my local office network, that is the IP address that's given to this thing. Just so you can see, on the Ethernet 1 tab, I'm set up as a DHCP client. So that HMI, when it connects to my network here at the office, it gets this IP address. And you might ask, how did you know that? Well, that's because on the display pages, I'm using a function down here called getNetIP, and that returns the IP address of Ethernet 1, or if I was using the Ethernet 2, I would change the number here, the parentheses, to number 2. But I'm only using Ethernet 1 for this example. So that is the number that's here, and then I've hard-coded it here just so I know it. But if I go to the web page, oops, let me go to the web page. Let me download real quick here this program to it. And I also have a camera on it, so I'm just trying to show this live to y'all. So if I go to the web page for the unit, here's the web page for that unit. Notice the IP address up here. Same IP address I'm using there, :92, which is the web page. And so just to make sure I show that correctly, over here in web server, there's where 92 comes from. I'm using port 92. Normally this is either port 443 for TLS here, or I use the TCP, and usually 80 is the default, but this one is set to 92. So that's where it's getting that feature from. I'm going to change one thing on my web page here. I'm going to go to remote control. I'm going to enable this, and I'm going to go bare display. Not that that matters, but let me download this to the screen. You're going to see in the camera. Should be showing that thing download over here. And of course it comes back up. And if I go back to the web page here, I can hit refresh my session here in the web page, go to remote view, and it should populate the whole page. So I'm hoping that I've convinced you all that I'm downloading for Crimson 3.1 right now with those settings. Particularly, I want you to remember that I'm using port 792 to download the unit, as I'm using port 92 to feed up the web page. All right, so let's go ahead and try this in Crimson 3.2. So I've got Crimson 3.2 open here, and I'm going to go File, and I'm going to Open. And I want to open up the existing database, which is HMI 91, or I'm sorry, not 91, but 92. Notice right here it doesn't show it. If I change down here to say, look at Crimson 3.1 databases, then it shows me the Crimson 3.1 or the CD31 files that are here. So I'm going to click on this one here. That's the same file I have open in Crimson 3.1. I'm going to go ahead and click the Open button here. It's going to import in. I'm going to say, no, I don't want to say that. Let's see what it does here. So it's going to bring it in, and it's going to offer up the product in 3.2. This is correct. It's a G09. That's correct. This is the model number. That's correct for this unit. It's got 2 Ethernet ports. This Group 4, just to touch on that, by default, that comes in when you're using a graphite, and it's enabled in here, but it won't actually run unless you have a Crimson Control module on the back of the unit. So this will let it come in, let you play with it here in the software, but the actual Crimson Control will not run unless you have that hard-coded module on the back of that unit. Anyway, I'm going to click the OK button here. And let's verify here. I think it's the same program. That's correct there. If I go over here to device configuration, that's the new thing in Crimson 3.2 that you don't have in Crimson 3.1. Look in the background. This is 3.1. This is 3.2. Both have communications, but in Crimson 3.2, you have the new category here called device configuration. Matter of fact, I just set this up a little bit there. Now it pretty much matches. Anyway, so in the device configuration here in 3.2, I'm going to click on the Ethernet setting here. That's correct. I want this to be set up as DHCP. That's all correct there. Let me slide down in here, though. I'm going to show you something. Down here in the download section, right here, if I click on download section, this is correct. I want to use port 792. That's correct. That's what's currently on there, I believe. And that's what I'm going to use to download to it. So that's all good there. Before I move on, I use another software package called Angry IP that goes up and it searches my network for different port numbers. I want you guys to all notice that there's the IP address of the unit, 192.168.254.19, and there's port 792. I'm really surprised it didn't have a :92 for the web page. But anyway, that's currently on there. So over here in Crimson 3.2, if I go to the link pull down menu and go down here to options, I'm going to put in that IP address there that we saw, which is 192.168.254.19. However, I want to direct that to port number 792 on that unit. So I'm going to put a colon here, 792, and that should direct that traffic to that port. I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, trying to make this live so you guys can see it or tape it. So I'm going to click the OK button. That's going to take care of that. By the way, that part there, if I just go back to Crimson 3.1 real quick here, this is already in 3.2. By putting that colon, that's going to send it to that port number. So that's the difference. This part does not exist in Crimson 3.2 as it does in 3.1. So by me going to the link pull down options, putting there that address and then a colon, I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that's what it downloads to. So I think I'm set up correctly in here to give this a try. Let's go to the link pull down and hit send. Notice, hoping the camera shows up and hit send. Let's see what it does here, team. Okay, it's doing something. It actually takes to download. I'm actually on my local network, so if I was on a cell modem, I can foresee this would take a little bit longer even yet, but I'm on my local office network here. Alright, I love the fact you got the camera in the background because you can see what's going on with the real screen, and you can also witness what's happening here in the Crimson 3.2 software. This is a wonderful example of what's going on here. So perfect. Looks like the screen's coming back to life with some stuff. Let it focus in. Yeah, so this is what happened on my other one. So I'm sitting here and it's sitting. Now you could be patient. Maybe this thing is going to fire back up or something, or maybe not. I don't know. But I was sitting earlier with this and it wasn't doing anything. So I'm like, well, I think it's stalled at this point. So I'm going to click the abort button here. I don't think it's going to pop back up. I could be wrong, but we can wait here for 3 years, and I don't think it's going to pop. So I'm going to hit the abort button here. See if it closes this. Okay, close that down. And I'm going to go ahead and reflash it again or re-download one more time here. So I'm going to go to the link, pull down, and hit send. I can also hit the lightning bolt here. Either way works. But let me do this link and send. Let's see what it does here. Okay, that's interesting. Look at that, team. All right, so let's not fret completely about that. Let's go down here to options. Let's see, we still got 792 here. That's correct. Let me look. Okay, well, so the web page is down right now. Okay. And what is this showing here on the camera here? If it fine tunes in, come on, let's with the camera. Get a little psychedelic. So it's got 254.19. I don't know why that camera's doing that to me, but it's interesting. All right, so that's the correct address. Let's try, before I attempt to hit again, let me try the Angry IP address. Let's see if it finds it here again. Give this a second here. Now, let's look at there. You see how it's back at port 789? Should have been at 792, but you can see right here that it went back to 789. Isn't that weird? Just want you to think about that. Remember that a little bit. So that's a little odd, isn't it? Okay. So if I go back to Crimson here, it says listen on port 792, but according to Angry IP address, it went back to 789 for some odd, weird reason. So here's what I'm thinking I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the link pull down, go to options, and I'm going to get rid of this port 792, because that's what it was before in Crimson 3.1. I'm going to get rid of this, which will get it back to downloading over the default port 789. And then my theory is that when it fully gets a complete Crimson 3.2 database on it, it's going to then have 792 open. We'll use Angry IP address to verify, but let's just take a look here. So I think I got this set up here. Again, just want to reiterate, I got rid of the port number because that's what it was in Crimson 3.1. Now it's in 3.2, but it's only halfway done. It's got the new firmware, but it doesn't actually have Crimson database. So I'm assuming that it is currently taking on, it went back to 789, this little mid-drift here I'm at. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the lightning bolt. Let's see what it does here. Okay, so this comes up. So I'm going to type admin, and the password is just password. This is one of them. This is a new thing here for Crimson 3.2. Everybody's going to love this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and click the OK button right here and say yes, continue on. Let's see what it does. Cross our fingers, team. Let's see if it's downloaded. It's using port 789 right now. And it did get the firmware update from Crimson 3.1 to 3.2 earlier. So let's see what the screen does here. You're watching the camera there, I hope. Sorry it's tilted because my screens are not on the wall. But let's see if it loads with the page. It's kind of psychedelic the way that camera keeps going in and out. All right, look at there, team. So now, if I go over here to display pages, that's what's on it. If I go back to the web server, look, it preloaded. It's up and running. I should have made a note of this stuff before, but anyway, you go back to the video and watch that. Now let me make a change here. Let me go here and do properties on the web page and on the display page. Look, properties here. Let me say I change the background color to a yellow, for instance. Click OK, yellow. All right, now I'm hoping that this time the port number 792 is taken over. You know what? Before I download, let me go ahead and fire up the old Angry IP address hunter again. Let's see if it finds it at 792. Let's see what happens here. Before it was at 789. Let's see if it comes up at 792 this time. Crossing my fingers, hoping so. Let's see. Right there. I can see it already came in. There's that .19, the same address before. Look, 792 and 92. Wonderful, wonderful news. So now back here to Crimson. This time I need to make sure that I download to it at port 792. So I'm going to hit the link pull down, go down to options, and this time here at the end of the IP address, I'm going to put a colon 792 here, because that's where I want that traffic to go on my router. When it comes in on port 792, that router is going to direct that over to that particular red line device. So I'm going to click the OK button. And in this case, team, we changed the background color to yellow. So let's hit the lightning bolt and let's see what happens. Boom. Hey, look at that. Wow, how cool is that? Now it's up and running with yellow. And is the web page up and running here? Sure is. Pretty sweet. So I've converted that product from Crimson 3.1 to 3.2. I've shown how to download to it if you're using the Ethernet method. If you're using the USB method, then it's just the usual USB download. But I'm using Ethernet, and I'm doing this remotely from anywhere to download to my HMIs here at my office. I'm just going to, since I got done doing all this work, what happens if I go to download Crimson 3.1 back to the unit? Oh, let's look at that. Let me go back to the original Crimson 3.1 program. Here's the Crimson 3.1. There it is. The thing I like about Crimson 3.1, with all these settings here, I kind of wish we would do this in 3.2, but not yet. Anyway, so I'm curious if I can download to this thing, get it back to Crimson 3.1, just for giggles. So I'm going to hit the lightning bolt here. Let me double check, make sure I'm still using TCP. I sure am right there. That's good. There's my IP address. Let's hit the lightning bolt. Let's see what happens. Ready? Okay, so I got this error, unexpected error. Okay, I wonder how we can fix that. Let me ponder my thoughts here. Can I not go back? That might be the end of this video. Let me look here. TCP looks good. That's the red IP address. Pretty sure this showed it right there. That's that guy, yep. Well, you try to link and send. Let me look here. Link. Okay, that looks good to me to link and send. Let me try to send here. Let's see. Well, maybe you can't go back to Crimson 3.1 via Ethernet. You can only go back via USB. Hey, by the way, I do have a USB cable plugged into it. So let me go ahead and connect it. Let's see here. There's the sound of that being connected. I'm just curious. Go to Options, choose the USB. I just want to see what happens here. So this time it should use the USB to download to it. Let's go ahead and hit the update. Let's see what it does here. So maybe you can't go back. I don't know. Maybe you can't go back to Crimson 3.1, download via USB, or download via Ethernet till you do it with USB. I don't know. I'm just showing this what I'm playing with your team. Okay. So there it is on Crimson 3.1 again. Look at that. There's those numbers. That's correct. Now I'm curious. I'm just going to be devil's advocate. If we go back to 3.2, could I just try this? Let's see. Or does it go back to 789? I don't know. Let's try it. Let's see what happens here, team. So again, this time we're going from 3.1 back to 3.2. Makes me think that it's going to go back to the default 789, in which case I got to go through that procedure again. But I could be wrong, but at least at today's date and today's revision of Crimson 3.2 as of August 7th, 2023. Which when I get done with this, I'll show you the build that I'm using. So there it is again. It's stopped right there, so hit abort. Of course, if I go to download this time, it's probably going to come back that the port is not there because I think, yep, once again, it's back to port 789. So if I go to link, options, get rid of this here, boom, 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 and hit the download, it'll continue. Yep. So there seems to be something as you migrate from Crimson 3.1 to 3.2, it resets that port to 789. Ooh, that brings a real monkey for me if I'm not at the office doing this because I wouldn't be able to get to a 789. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I don't think I like that, team. I'll be honest with you. I don't like that. Anyway. Alright, well that's a quick video. It should come back to life here. You can see the screen's yellow and of course the web page is up and running. So I just wanted to show you a few tricks to download over Ethernet Crimson 3.1 and 3.2. In my opinion, it appears that if you're going to do that the first time, you need to be connected locally to that network because the default download seems to go back to 789, doesn't retain the settings as before. That needs to be fixed because that means I have to be at my office to download, and the purpose of my router is to allow me to download to these from anywhere in the world, and that's going to be interesting. Anyway, hey, thanks a lot, folks. Have yourself a great day. We'll talk to you later now.